any discipline, SDG comes into picture. You name it, any department, climate change invariably comes into picture. I think this is the time for us to look at how the health and wealth should go together. When we are talking about development or we are talking about growth, necessarily we have to now look for health. That is something very important when you're talking about the humankind, and human health is so important, human security is so important, and we have to see how wealth and health should go together. And climate change, which is a very important issue when we look at, and recent past, if you look at the initiative at global level, we are talking about global challenge or global climate change. Earlier we used to say that terrorism is the global issue, but now it shifted to climate change. Now it has become that climate change is the issue at global level. I think that is something very important for us to look at. And India is also very, though India is not part of the problem of the climate change, because if you look at the statistics, India is contributing only 3% of GHG emissions, but then India is also recognizing that whether you are part of the problem or not, you are going to be the affected person or affected body. So in that sense, India is looking at that, has initiated this International Solar Alliance, where Indian government is taking initiative to connect 140 countries to have access to solar through solar grid, so that we can try to mitigate the GHG emissions, thereby we can reduce the impact of climate change. So that is something where we need to look at about how the sustainability or sustainable development or SDGs are talking about climate change, which are necessarily, it is in the domain of academic for the discourse. And also, as to end my address, let me quote what Mahatma Gandhi said, that I quote, "The earth has enough resources for our need, but not for our greed." I think that is something very important for us to look at, how to save environment, how to save the earth. That's something very challenge, and hopefully I think this Center for Sustainability or Sustainable and Climate Studies could really become a platform to connect to the different disciplines in Pondicherry University. And if you look at global challenge or as the climate change seen, we need to look at how this could be seen as a interdisciplinary nature. Thereby, I hope Dr. Mathimaran could able to connect to the different disciplines in the university to take up various academic assignments. Thank you once again. I welcome you all for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your welcome address. So before we go for the inaugural address, we would like to honor our guest and our chief guest and our guest of honor with some more mementos. We have small.
So, respected Vice Chancellor Professor Gurmeet Singh and guest of honor Mr. Jonas Brunswick and our registrar Professor Rajneesh Bhutani and the Dean International Studies Dr. A. Subramaniam Raju and head of the department Dr. D. Ramamurthy and our PRO Dr. Nand Kishore, all the deans and coordinators of SDGs and all the guests from different departments and also the faculty members. Good afternoon, everyone. So when Professor Madhimaran proposed about this Center for Sustainability and Climate Studies, our Honorable Vice Chancellor immediately agreed for this. And as you know, the present day, these topics like sustainability and climate studies are very important. So if you see the early 20th century, when the industrial revolution started, we were thinking about only how to generate the new technologies, how to improve our GDP, all those things. But now the topic of sustainability and climate, this is basically effect of those industrial revolution and improved GDP. So how to sustain this without affecting our climate? This is the main goal of these studies. So when Professor Madhimaran proposed it, that's why our Honorable Vice Chancellor immediately agreed for this. And you may know there are in our ecology and the environment, there are many damages we have done already based on this industrial revolution. We have to think on how to sustain the green technologies, whatever we are now developing, how to bring this carbon zero. All those things are very important topics. So in IQAC also we are discussing on the policies for our university, especially for this all SDG goals. In this angle, this center is very important. So I thank our guest of honor, Mr. Jonas Brunswick, for coming this and inaugurating this function as well as the center, and also thank our Vice Chancellor for gracing the occasion on this holiday, and also thank Mr. Madhimaran for bringing this Center for Sustainability and Climate Change. Thank you for inviting me also this function. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and also support in the sense of bringing this into a center, into reality, and of course a long way to go. And perhaps I will just want to share in this context about briefly, of course, about the scope, vision and mission, a bit of roadmap, and perhaps also like to share how the center and even basis for bringing up such center as part of even a larger context, one of it is like Indo-Swiss collaboration, is one of the longest running collaboration, not just only for the Pondicherry University, but also for the whole India. Perhaps I think most of you, most of us, all of us know that Switzerland is one of the first country which had a treaty with friendship treaty with India just after independence. So I think this is from that time onwards there have been a lot of efforts in bringing up kind of collaboration between India and Switzerland. But in general, this particular center was also kind of a follow-up of our visit with Honorable Vice Chancellor. We had a visit to Switzerland, visiting top institution in Switzerland back in March, including ETH Zurich, and there we had opportunity or rather met several institutes, particularly working on sustainability and environment. and that was also one of the reasons we kind of wanted to make a greater efforts that would benefit not just only this particular Indo-Swiss project, which in which I am working with as part of the project with the University of Basel, but rather we want to bring out in a larger collaboration with at the university level, bringing more stakeholders, bringing more departments into the picture, not just also, of course, not just limited to only Switzerland, but also across the world with more opportunity to collaborate in this multidisciplinary, center with particularly having, relevance as our director studies mentioned, rightly pointed out. And also our Dean International pointed out this particular topic of sustainability and climate change, as you all know, is becoming more and more important and as well as relevant than ever before for many reasons, as we all know, not just limited to only environment but also other disciplines. So I am sure with a long way to go with this center, with several possibility for research collaboration across within the university and across the country and also globally. I am confident in bringing that, and this center would form a basis for our university to work out in this particular topic, in this particularly this transdisciplinary topic. So with that small vision, with making our university the center as a globally recognized, not just only at the national level, but also international level, as a vision statement in general. And I would like to thank again our Honorable Vice Chancellor in making this center, bringing this center in a very effective way, in a very relatively quicker time, giving the importance for this topic, two topics, sustainability and climate change. As we all know, particularly as a follow-up of G20, which concluded with a lot of mention about this topic, as even follow-up, we know there is already a lot of, in the document brought out as a G20 document, which mentions about this sustainability and climate change, where all stakeholders can take part. So I am sure, including our own center at Pondicherry University, can form a national level as well as international level good basis for bringing out many laurels for the university. Yes. So with that, I conclude my speech and request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh, for his remarks and about these centers. I will request to address, give his presidential address. So, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mathi. Our friend, Mr. Jonas, Consul General from Swiss Embassy, and CEO, of course, of this, Ms. Margot, our Pro-Vice Chancellor, Director, Finance Officer, all other officers were sitting here with me, many deans, professors, and all others, and our PRO, Dr. Nand Kishore, who has made all efforts that we have been all together here. When we look at this Center for Sustainability and Climate Studies, you will obviously get to know immediately that this should have been a very important one right from the day one. But so far, when you look at all universities, this part has been a neglected one. And it has assumed greater importance in the recent past when we look at things like earthquakes in many parts, flood in Libya, a dam collapse in one of the Middle Eastern countries recently again, and a recent bout of rain in New York, which is unheard of, New York getting flooded. It's designed this way that whatever amount of rain can be there, it won't be flooded. And then the recent spurt of rain in Himachal, one of our hilly states here, where the rain in about 3 days was equivalent to the one we were getting in 2-3 months earlier on in Himachal. The result of that was there were massive landslides in many parts of the states, and some areas which they said can never have landslides, part of Kullu, where they made multi-storied buildings of 8-story, 10-story, and if you have seen the video, the way they came down like a pack of cards, it was shocking, it was scary. Railway line, in Heritage Railway Line, Heritage Railway Line in Himachal, Kalka, Simla connection, that land came down and we saw the track hanging. Likewise, many other areas in the world had these natural calamities which were beyond our imagination. So when we look at it, this kind of a center would assume greater importance. And we know that there is a global warming. Every year the temperature is rising. There are other problems the world is facing. The ozone layer is getting depleted. It would lead to a lot of other problems like cancer, skin cancer and other ones. If we do not pay enough attention now, I think probably we'll never be able to get over these. And this is one of the reasons that any worldwide recognized meeting that takes place, the first agenda on their discussions is always climate change and sustainability. I'm saying any meeting, be it UNO or any other regional meeting, and the recent one which was G20 meeting which was concluded, there also the sustainability and climate change formed one of the very important chapters which was discussed, and this has formed an important part of the Delhi Declaration which was there. In fact, there were a lot of meetings around our country where G20 nations were involved pertaining to sustainability and climate change. So in short, what I am trying to tell you is that this part is assuming greater importance of late because of the kind of situations we are in. And if we don't take stock of this now, probably we'll never be able to overcome this kind of futuristic problems that we are going to face. Now, how best we can do it? One is that we can meet, discuss, speak big, and give big lectures, and the matter ends with a kind of a report that we do it. Others is that we can draw a map, road map, that what way to achieve this. So when this proposal was discussed in Switzerland, and we talked about it, we thought this will be the best way. What is the best way? That rather than discussing at higher levels, of course that is important, they would discuss. But to begin at a right level, the best place is universities. And there, when this came up, I immediately agreed to setting up of this center, which is rightly christened as Center for Sustainability and Climate Change. I am of the opinion, and I am sure you will all agree with me, that if we have a center like this, our young minds, researchers and young faculty would be encouraged to go in for research projects which will be aimed at reducing these carbon credits, reducing the climate change which is moving in the wrong direction. So they will start working on this, and in my opinion, as I said, universities are the right place to send a message across that here is one problem we need to pay urgent attention. And this center is a step in that direction. I am sure there will be faculty who will be indulging or who will be writing more projects pertaining to this. Our youngsters, young minds, so-called researchers, would pay attention to this after we have these kind of meetings, so that they also write projects and we start working in this direction. A lot of work is on, but then we cannot say since X or Y university is doing, we need not do it. We have our own problems, and the problem which we are going to be attending to are based on this region. Somebody working in eastern side or northern side will have different set of difficulties. We will have our own, so we need to work on the problems which are here in this part of the country. So I'm sure with the setting up of this center, there will be enough thought for this, more projects will come up, more researchers would be paying attention to this, and this center will produce right kind of a result which will be able to control this climate change for the wrong direction. We will be able to set it right so that humanity benefits, humanity moves in the right direction, and hopefully I'm saying hopefully with a very encouraging sound in my mind that we will be able to get the reasonably good results for our benefit. So I'm very happy that Jonas has taken his time out to be with us, and I'm sure this center would encourage Swiss universities and our universities in particular, and in general all universities, to collaborate jointly to come up with good research projects and would start working out solutions so that the sustainability goal which we have set up shall become a reality. And from here onwards, when we pick up and move up, we will find that the countries will also be able to interact, and they'll say, well, if this is being done at this level, we need to take it up to the higher level so that it can be given right attention. I'm saying right attention because our level is a smaller level, but when we project it towards the higher side, it could be taken up more properly if there is enough thoughts, if there is enough backing up with right force, and if there is enough backing up with essential finances, which can be done only at the government level. I am glad that G20 paid enough attention to this. UNO is paying enough attention by holding conventions in cities like Glasgow, where we had this. If that word focuses in this direction, where a center like this would be a kind of a pallbearer, that, well, here is a problem we need to pay attention to, I suppose we will be in the right direction, and the aim we have set in would be met very shortly. So I am delighted that we have been able to set up this center, and I am 100% certain that our faculty will rise up to the occasions in terms of having better projects, better research projects, better research papers, and better solutions to our localized problems also. Thank you so very much for all of you for joining us, and let's go ahead with this.
Thank you, sir, for your word of encouragement and also long-sightedness, particularly having the center kind of roadmap you have given for us with all your constant support. So now may I request our guest of honor speech from Mr. Jonas Brunswick, CEO and Consulate General of Switzerland, Bangalore. So now it's your time, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Vice Chancellor Singh, Professor Mathimaran, I'm really delighted to be here. And first and foremost, I want to give you a heartfelt congratulations on the launch of this Center for Sustainability and Climate Studies. It's an important time to launch such a center, and having just visited the physical building that will house the center, I have to say I'm impressed by the commitment that Pondicherry University is making with launching this center. It is not a small building. The message is clear. This is going to be an important place that will play a key role in the topics of sustainability and climate studies, both on the research side as well as on the action side. And we need both. We cannot just conceive of universities as place of research where knowledge is generated, but we need them to be places of action too, because our circumstances demand action, but they demand informed action, action that is backed by evidence and by knowledge. Knowledge that is created through scientific inquiry, through rigorous methods, looking at both perhaps ancient wisdom and particularly when it comes to climate change or when it comes to protecting biodiversity. You know, we live in an era of advanced technology, but we tend to forget that the modern world, since the second industrial revolution in the history of humankind, you know, the last 2-3 generations or the last 150 years, compared to, let's say, the 6,000 years of humans having been around in our current form, we're like a 4-month-old baby or so. And we needn't forget that there is a lot of wisdom and knowledge that the stewards of this same planet that we inhabit have contributed to. And today is also an auspicious day. I've learned that the Honorable Vice Chancellor is celebrating his birthday, but of course it's not the only birthday that is celebrated today. It is also Gandhi Jayanti, and I want to tie back to some of the ideas that this remarkable human being that walked this planet not too long ago has left, and that continue to inspire many. I had come across this idea of Gandhian engineering. So engineering inspired by the ideas of Gandhi. We are at a time where we need to learn to do more with less for more. And I think this very, very well encaptures the ethos of this time and the learnings, not just that this center and this institution can take, but really the world can take from one of the towering figures of modern day India. Why do we need to do more with less for more? I will not go into citing statistics and numbers. We all know that. We all know the urgency. And we know that the crisis that we're facing, whether it's the great extinction or whether it is the climate events that the Honorable Vice Chancellor just mentioned happening in the last month, this is all interconnected and interdependent. Setting up a center here without thinking or conceiving of it as a center that is, of course, based at Pondicherry University, physically located on the campus, but connected to greater India and the world, that is the way to conceive of it, because the nature of the challenges that we face are so interconnected and interdependent. And in Professor Matimaran, who will be the founding director of the center, you have somebody who comes with this pedigree of interconnectedness, having not too long ago returned from a substantive amount of time spent in Switzerland. Of course, we're privileged that there is a very good connection from the outset, actually from before the outset, with Switzerland in this center. And we hope that we can continue to foster that going forward. We don't just have an alum of a Swiss university and a former researcher of a Swiss university, but we also have a recipient of one of the latest rounds of the Indo-Swiss Joint Research Program, which is a competitive international program funded by both the Swiss National Science Foundation and the Department of Science and Technology, or one of the other funding ministries on the Indian side. And the auspice here is that we see more of these in the years to come. We are launching the next joint research call, hopefully later this year in December, if not in early 2024. And this will be in collaboration again between the Swiss National Science Foundation and the Department of Biotechnology and the Indian Council for Medical Research, the ICMR, on the topic of One Health. And we're looking at antimicrobial resistance in particular. This is a focus for us in our work here in India at Swissnex, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But One Health, the idea of One Health very much feeds into the theme of sustainability. Planetary One Health is planetary health. This is not just human health, it's the health of our ecosystems, it's the health of the animals that we depend on, it's the health of the whole Earth system that enables for life to thrive, and hopefully shall enable for life to continue to thrive. In fact, I have no doubt that life will continue to thrive on this planet. The question is just, will humans continue to be a part of it or not? And I think the answer to that depends on us and our actions. And so again, taking informed and decisive action and having strong-willed leadership that has the backing of those who have the vision and the ideas to address the pressing challenges of our time is what is paramount. So I'm going to tell you now a little bit about Switzerland and India specifically. You see in the program that I have two titles, and I have been introduced with my two titles. On one hand, I am the Consul General of Switzerland to South India, so I have this diplomatic representation. But I'm also the CEO. I am the CEO of Swissnex in India, which is one of the 6 science and technology consulates that Switzerland has around the world. Swissnex in India is based in Bangalore, and we have been there since 2010, and that's really when Switzerland opened its consulate general. So you may think of it as 2 different entities. In fact, it's just one. And it's a consulate general because the Indian government at the time requested in order to give permission to Switzerland to establish a science and technology consulate, a Swissnex, they said, okay, but you have to make it a consulate general because that is the entity that the government recognizes. But we're talking about a diplomatic anomaly. Our mission is to connect India, Switzerland, and the world in the fields of education, research, and innovation. So really, I lead a team of about 20 people whose daily task is to bring this mission to life, to embody this mission. And our vision is to accelerate positive transformations at the frontiers of knowledge. And so we have reflected, well, okay, what are the frontiers of knowledge in India? And what are the ones in Switzerland? And where would it make sense to intensify the collaboration between the 2 countries? Not so that we can enrich ourselves and each other in a material way, but so that we can meet the grand challenges of our time. And lo and behold, the biggest one that we face is, of course, under the umbrella of sustainability. We have the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda that we have collectively agreed upon as a priority for this very reason. So we have now 3 areas in which Switzerland and India will aim to intensify their cooperation in the coming years: health, sustainability, and digital transformation. Health, I've mentioned antimicrobial resistance. This is actually tied to sustainability. AMR is not quite as dire a challenge as climate change, but it is equally as complex. It is not a challenge whereby developing new antibiotics we have a silver bullet and boom, the problem is solved. Just like with climate change, it's not a matter of developing one technology that removes all the carbon from the air and the problem is solved. That's wishful thinking. It's an interdependent problem because we use antibiotics in animal husbandry, in agriculture. We overprescribe them in the healthcare sector. We do not have adequate diagnostics at the point of care that identify which treatment is going to be effective or which one isn't. And so we just treat and then see how the patients react as opposed to knowing what to treat with. We do not treat the wastewater out of certain industries that will then, through its effluents, pollute and cause the spread of antibiotic resistant bacteria. So interdependent challenge. And Switzerland and India are uniquely positioned by collaborating to have to make significant contributions to meeting this challenge. In the field of sustainability, again, we're talking very broadly here. We need to narrow it down. We cannot just say sustainability as a buzzword. It's been thrown around right and left, but we need to be concrete. You know, if Switzerland were to turn carbon neutral tomorrow, we would, as Swiss people, get to feel really good about it. But in the grand scheme of things, it would not make a big difference, because Switzerland is a small country, a small economy, and on a net level, a small contributor to the CO2 emissions. On the other hand, if Switzerland were to work effectively with a country like India, who is on a rapidly rising trajectory, to decarbonize its economy, to develop new technologies, to develop new solutions, to more rapidly take carbon out of the economy, then we can have a significant impact. And then let me give you a concrete example. In June, earlier in June this year, the Indian authority that licenses, or the regulator for cement, has given its seal of approval to a new formula for cement known as LC3. LC3 has been developed in over a decade of research by the Indian Institute of Technology at Madras and New Delhi, EPFL in Switzerland and a research institution in Cuba on a grant that was given by the Swiss Development and Cooperation Agency, a 3-phase grant, 4 years each phase. Over a decade of research is what it took to develop a new formula for cement, which has now become a standard adopted by India and other countries. And this new cement, this LC3 cement, emits up to 40% less CO2 when it is manufactured. It has the same properties, and it has about the same cost to cement manufacturers to produce. So these type of game-changing new technological solutions are what is needed and are what Switzerland and India working together should strive to address more intensively in fields like decarbonization, in fields like transition to renewable energy, in asking questions of how do we better protect and manage the biodiversity that is so rapidly extinguishing. A fact that Switzerland and many countries in the West often ignore is that India is one of the world's biodiversity hotspots. There is a lot of biodiversity here. We tend to think of biodiversity hotspots as the Amazon and sub-Saharan Africa, but the Indian subcontinent is up there with a very large percentage of the world's biodiversity found here. So we need to work together again. How do we better integrate on the ground indigenous knowledge with in the air, say, remote sensing, data collection? And that leads me to the last point, digital transformation. This is an area where India is a world leader when it comes to digital public infrastructure, digital public goods. India has built something that Switzerland is far, far behind in and can absolutely learn from and should learn from and is hopefully learning from. And we're in an age where data, the value of data and the value of humans in the data economy is put into questions. You know, we have to decide as societies, do we want to live in a world where the user of the data is the actual product because we are commodified, you know, the way that we engage with the digital world is then monetized, or do we want to be individual agents that have control, that can self-determine also in the digital space as we do in the physical space? And here again is an area where we see that more intense cooperation between Switzerland and India can make a dent. This is why at the end of this month, on the 30th of October, we will launch what we call the Indo-Swiss Innovation Initiative, and this will be the umbrella initiative under which we will build this narrative of focusing on health, sustainability, and digital transformation to really see over the next years the collaboration between Switzerland and India reach new heights. And we're doing this by lobbying intensively all the funding agencies, the Swiss National Science Foundation, the DST, the DBT, and the NRF too, now that it's finally coming off the ground, because the urgency of the time demands this. And so being here today, inaugurating such a timely Center for Sustainability and Climate Studies is part of this grander narrative. And now it's time to put our words into action and over the next years really build out these collaborations. And that is what I hope we can do from here. May this be nothing but the seeding moment of much greater and much more meaningful collaboration for years to come. Thank you again for the invitation, and all the best for the center and the work ahead.
Thank you, Jonas, for this wonderful speech and of course giving us a broader context of sustainability and in terms of Switzerland perspective, also our own Indo-Swiss collaboration. That is something which there is, as you mentioned, a lot of scope still yet to come. And I think we all would be certainly connected, not just only linked with only this topic, but also other topic in a larger context. So, so we actually, in fact, planned with our Honorable Vice Chancellor to have even plan online meeting where our university would set up a kind of discussion forum with our Swiss partners so that we get a more larger picture of the possibility for collaboration in, across the departments. So that we will soon set up and update you. And I'm glad also that I think by the end of this week, there will be also alumni meeting at Swiss Next. Just today only I confirmed my participation, so I'll be there again in Bangalore to kind of keep a continuity of exploring new possibilities. And I'm looking forward for that also, to meet you again in Bangalore in this Friday. I think thank you once again for all the way making to come over here from Bangalore and giving and inaugurating this this center also. Okay, thank you. And quickly to move on to our next speaker, special address from our registrar, Pondicherry University, Professor Rajneesh Bhutani. Sir, your
thank you, Dr. Madhimaran. And I take this opportunity to essentially echo the sentiments that Mr. Jonas, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh, have expressed here. On behalf of university, I really feel very excited on the launch of this particular center on sustainability and climate studies. And I would like to use this opportunity also to thank all those people who have supported and took the initiative, Dr. Madhimaran, our Director of Studies, Professor Tarnikar Su, Dean International Studies, Finance Officer, Director Culture, and everyone in the university. We are really looking forward to have this center in our university. And I don't think there could be any better day to launch this particular center than on the Gandhi Jayanti. Of course, this has become even more memorable because our Honorable Vice Chancellor is inaugurating this on his birthday. But as he also mentioned in the morning, and now Professor Mr. Jonas have reminded us, that if you say, if you think, you would see that Mahatma Gandhi was the strong and first advocate of sustainability. In the morning, Professor Gurmeet Singh mentioned that he was the one who talked about the idea of sustainable villages. And now, Mr. Jonas has mentioned the less for more is basically the same idea which people are trying to implement again. If we can make our villages sustainable, if we can learn to live with the minimalist attitude, that is what I think he meant when he said less for more, then we would be able to reduce carbon footprint to a large extent. And that is what is needed. And particularly when I come from the geology background, I can understand that there is no longer that the climate change is a future phenomenon. We are in the midst of climate change. Already Professor Gurmeet Singh has mentioned several examples, and I completely support what Mr. Jonas said, that life will go on, because as geologist I know we have already, the planet Earth has already seen 5 extinctions and many species could not survive, and we do not know our species Homo sapiens will be able to survive or not. But this is the time that we have to take action. In fact, that reminds me of IPCC's recent report, which suggested that we had only 10 or 12 years window where we need to make very strong actions, and I think that also few years have passed by. In fact, one of the CSR institute I saw, they have put a climate clock there, and it is ticking down, and it was showing 5 years, 300 days now remaining before we pass the 1.5 degree centigrade target that was set up by the IPCC after revision of the Paris Climate Deal. But what I'm more excited about is that this is the one center, particularly if you see from the university point of view, which has scope to bring several disciplines together. Because the climate is one subject which is no longer limited to basic sciences like physics, chemistry, geology, or maths. It is the one particular topic which requires input from every knowledge domain. And when particularly in the context of this national education policy, which also encourages the multidisciplinary subjects, I am looking forward for this center to develop in a place where from social sciences, from management, from policy matters, from international relations, and from the science discipline, everybody put their efforts together. In fact, the other day when Madhimaran was discussing with me, and he mentioned that he measures the stable isotopes of carbon, and I was very excited because that is what we also do. So in that way, if you look at the sustainability, this is the one subject where everywhere has a role to play, And this is what the university is looking forward to, that this center ultimately would be a place where people can come, exchange their ideas, and as Professor Gurmeet Singh has mentioned, that this should enthuse the young minds to take up research projects. As Jonas said, that we need new solutions to tackle this the problem of carbon emissions. So from that point of view and from university's behalf, I'm really thankful to all the people who have taken effort, particularly Mr. Jonas, the Council General, and Mr. Madhimaran, and all the people who are going to be involved in this center. I would like to thank them and congratulate. And I, from administration point of view, I assure our Vice Chancellor that we will try our best to make this vision of the center, what he has thought of, a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think two main things you rightly pointed out, this launch of the center, particularly on the birth of Gandhi Jayanti. I think I wouldn't find a better day than if you talk about sustainability. I think this is also nice. And second thing, as you mentioned, this will be certainly taken up further in the sense of working with all other departments and research group where we have a lot of models across the globe offering degrees on, say, sustainable tourism, so like our sustainable food systems. So we can name it so many things, as you mentioned, across like sustainable health system. So certainly there is a lot of scope across not just only at the science, but also social sciences, humanities, to work on this topic transdisciplinary, offering perhaps explore joint courses, across the disciplines, degrees, as part of even NEP, extending NEP in this. Okay. Thank you, sir, and we shall continue to explore options to academically strengthen that within our university through this center. Thank you. And next, our special address from Professor Ramurthy, Head of the Department of Ecology and Environmental Science, from where the center is part of it. And I would request him to give his special address.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, climatologists seek to understand the aspect of climate. The first aspect is to whether patterns that govern normal conditions in different regions throughout the world. Second aspect, climate scientists try to understand the relationship between different aspects of weather, such as temperature and sunlight. So, in relation to this, I would like to point out that our scientists of Indian Space Research Organization observing the both Chandrayaan-3 on Moon and Aditya L1 mission launch towards Sun, which promote our research in the Earth and atmosphere. Though our best teacher for Indian country in space research, our honorable Russian country, unable to achieve it, nevertheless, affectionate and precious Russians lovable Indian country achieved on it. Innumerable precious metals we get soon from Moon, and sustainability on metals and other resources for the Indian economy welfare will be fruitful in future. So I predict that sooner we study its center through satellite, and students will be highly benefited through the leadership of Professor Madhimaran Nadarajan. So really, world look at us surprisingly on the victory of Chandrayaan-3. At this juncture, I am joyful to inform you that we are fortunate enough to have good research friendship with affectionate and lovely country Switzerland. I also proud to declare that without our VC's enthusiasm, our success is not possible. So we colleagues merge through affectionate heart relationships in promoting research, which will be highly helpful to establish the Center for Sustainability and Climate Studies forever. So in which I would like to get some two-line Tirukural, if you don't mind. Ennanba ஏனை எழுத்தன்ப இவ்விரண்டும் கண்ணன்ப வாழும் உயிர்க்கு. It's Tirukural 392 word. English version, letter, number, art and science. Of living kind, both are the eyes. So it means science and arts are considered to be eyes of human beings. So by which let us learn together and improve our educational research to honor our university. I appreciate the steps taken by Madhimara Natarajan through educational leaders, our Honorable Vice Chancellor and Swiss Consulate, Mr. Jonas Brunswick, CEO, Consulate General of Switzerland. And in between, I got an idea to write one poem in Tamil in front of our temple. One madam taken photographs. I remember all my senior students, one heroine. In form of her, I remember a word, a flower of breeze, danced before us. Thank you, Madam Mako, for photos. Excuse me. This thing has happened. So thank you, sir, for having opportunity to offered me the opportunity with you on this special day. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for this excellent speech and motivating us from the level of department as being HOD of the department. So we are coming to the end with a vote of thanks from our PRO, the Public Relation Officer, Dr. Nanda Kishore.
Thank you, Dr. Mathimaran. I think the Vice Chancellor is saturated by cutting the cakes today. It's been a whole day. Nevertheless, India's role since the Paris climate has been phenomenally great because India has moved from a norm taker to a norm giver. Till then, India was also called as a reluctant power. From there, we have transited to becoming a leading power in the international affairs. We have also become perhaps a nation that most of the countries across the world look as someone who's capable of being a mediator, someone who's capable of bringing peace. With those few words, I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. From the beginning, I thank Professor Subramaniam Raju, who delivered the welcome address for this particular program. And I have to thank Professor Gurmeet Singh. He is the wind beneath our wings in whatever that we do. Perhaps his motivation has been the key in starting new initiatives. This is perhaps the 5th program of the day, this day alone. This is the 5th program that we are doing, and all of them are invariably associated with nature. I think nature and Gandhi are inseparable. I think there's no better way of celebrating Gandhi Jayanti here at the university. Thank you for such motivating presence, as well as always being with us in all our innovations and new things that we want to start at the university, sir. Please accept our heartfelt thanks. I also thank our guest of honor, Mr. Jonas Brunswick, the CEO, Consulate General of Switzerland, Bengaluru, coming all the way from Bengaluru to be part of this one. I had spoken to Mathimaran requesting if there's a possibility for you to join the Gandhi Jayanti this morning, but that was not a possibility. But nevertheless, we deeply appreciate your commitment, and we also appreciate your continuous cooperation with the Indian government and also all the educational institutions. We expect the same in the days to come. We will collaborate further, and we will take this to the newer heights. And your commitment to Center for Sustainability and Climate Studies is deeply appreciated from all the stakeholders here, and I'm sure back home in Switzerland as well. So thank you on behalf of all of us gathered here. My special thanks also goes to Professor Tarani Karasu, the Director in Charge Studies, Educational Innovations and Rural Reconstruction Coordinator, as well as IQAC, Pondicherry University, for delivering the inaugural address. I also thank Professor Rajneesh Bhutani, the Registrar in Charge, Pondicherry University, for giving us a direction where the center has to head, how it has to be multidisciplinary, and how most of the departments in this university in one or the other way are associated with sustainable development, also the climate studies. We can contribute, and perhaps this is the closest one that is to the nature and also the world that is looking up to us. I thank Professor Ramurthy for being so candid in delivering something that's from the past, that's been so close to the nature, something from the Tirukural, and also something that came as part of his natural being that he delivered at the end. So thanks for that leadership that you have provided for the head, for the Department of Ecology and Environmental Sciences here, sir. I also thank Professor Rajiv Jain, Professor Lazar, and Director HRDC, Mr. Panchramalingam, Dr. Rekha, the Dean, Student Welfare, then we also have many faculty members from the other departments. This program would not have been a possibility had there been no cooperation from the Deputy Registrars and the Assistant Registrars of the University and all the others who are involved here. My special thanks to the AMMRC and all the other stakeholders who have been making these type of events a very, very grand success. At the end, the idea of having a center of sustainability and climate studies is to have peace in the world, and that's what exactly the Indian tradition speaks about. It says, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha. Thank you for your patient listening and being part of this great event. Thank you.